Okay, we're just about done here. A few more minutes, so bear with me. I want to finish up Carter, and then there's a few slides I want to talk to you guys about some of the movements that took place in the 70s, so you have a better understanding of that. So that's pretty much Carter's presidency. He's seen as an ineffective president, and not much gets done during his watch. All right, so we talked about a couple of things. The women's movement. Title IX, I mentioned it came under Nixon. Spelled bias wrong. How about that? Okay, came under Nixon, and it comes in '72. Title IX. So we know that the National Organization of Women comes about at this time. Betty Friedan is there. They push something known as the Equal Rights Amendment. They're actually trying. The women's movement is trying to get a change to the Constitution, an amendment. Congress passes it, but it does not meet the 36-state requirement in the period of time. So you could make the argument that the Equal Rights Amendment does not pass and it fails for women. Okay, Native Americans. A lot of stuff is going on with Native Americans. You got to think there's a lot of movements that start in the 70s, and they all come out of the civil rights. When all of these groups start seeing African Americans, Black Americans get their rights, they start wanting to get their own. Okay, so Native Americans start going to court. Native tribes will get land that they will be able to use. You get violence breaking out. Once again, we're breaking treaties. So we have that. And Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee is a new round of violence in 1973 that comes about. I suggest you read about it in the book. Take a little bit of time to familiarize yourself with what happens in Wounded Knee. And in 1975, Congress will pass the Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act for Native Americans as a method of trying to help Native Americans through the process. Okay, gay rights or rainbow pride, or if you go back to that chart, a lot of these things we're talking about relate to the chart I gave you from chapter 28. Okay, the Stonewall riot in Greenwich Village, where police will raid a gay club, leads to a riot. This is what leads to the beginning of the gay rights movement. 1973, the American Psychiatric Association finally says homosexuality is not a disease. So you have some changes taking place. In 1975, although you are now able to get hired for a civil service job if you are openly gay. Not many people are openly gay at this time, but things are starting to change for gay Americans. All right? And in society, you've got to take a look at all the stuff that's changing. The hippies start to fade away, and what you get is what's known as the me decade. People start turning into themselves. What can I do for myself to get me there? Preoccupation, self-awareness, and stuff like that. There's actually more indulgence in sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the 1970s than there was even in the 1960s, okay? You still have the economic difficulties. They're not going to go away until partway through Reagan's administration, because even Reagan makes them worse in the beginning. You're not going to start seeing changes till somewhere around 1983, 1984 in there. Rock and roll goes away. Disco becomes the big thing. People start wearing those big platform shoes. Bell-bottom pants are there. Saturday Night Fever that I told you guys about. You should look up a little bit to get an understanding of the movie. Okay? And so it brings us back to the original essential questions. Are the 70s really better off forgotten? Something for you guys to think about, all right? Now, before you click off and don't watch any more of what I've got to say, I want to take you through one more thing. I'm going to go over to the website and look at something on the website, and I'd like you guys to find some time to look at this stuff over the next few days. Okay, so I'm on the chapter 29 page of the website, as you can see, and I've got 4 things here for you to take a look at. The Iranian hostage crisis videos. These are, again, most of these are links to YouTube sites. Take a look at these. It will give you a much better understanding of what took place during the Iranian hostage crisis. They're primary sources. Some of them are in Farsi. You hear the Ayatollah Khomeini giving his speeches in Farsi, and it is either subtitled or it's dubbed over. The oil crisis in 73 and 79. Again, this will give you a very good understanding of what's taking place during that time. Carter's speeches. This is where you can get a hold of the Malays speech. As a matter of fact, I don't think I can click on it. No, I can't. Or will it let me? Oh, it is letting me. So you have Jimmy Carter's speech here, and yeah, the screen's not big enough. Okay, so I have the Crisis of Confidence speech in there for you guys to take a look at. The other one to look at is 1970s television, okay? There's a lot of shows that come out in the 70s, and television really changes. And perhaps one of the most important shows was called All in the Family. And so you can read through this at your leisure, and I've got connections, links to some shows and things like that. You really should watch this because the characters in the show reflect society of the 70s and what's happening. Archie Bunker is the head character, and he is a basic bigot. He's a white guy, and he's a World War II veteran, and he's a bigot, and he doesn't like anybody except other white people. And you actually run into, in some of the shows, his neighbor, George Jefferson, who is an African American. He is also a bigot. He doesn't like white people. So when you look at these shows, this will give you a real good idea of what was happening at the time. The other thing we have big at the time is a show called Happy Days. We go and, you know, it's the 1970s and everything's difficult, so we want to go back to a better time, a happier time. And so we create a show about the 1950s, and we have some wonderfully fun characters that we can talk about in there, okay? So there's some television for you to look at. They're not very long clips, but it might be worth your time to get an idea of what was happening in terms of that. Under the oil crisis, again, the OPEC oil embargo is there. It's one clip, it's 5 minutes. It gives you an understanding of what takes place in that. And the Iranian hostage crisis video also gives you an understanding of what's there. Talks about the Hosky message, and you've got a little bit of an interview with, a 4-minute interview with a former hostage. So this will give you guys a good understanding of that stuff. All right? Okay, so that is the time. We're done with the 70s. I hope you enjoyed your trip through the 70s. And I'll see you guys next week. Well, please remember to read the conservatism article and look at the stuff on the website about Reagan and Bush so we can get through those two presidencies in a couple of days. All right, take care. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.